Form 8879 CORP. This is the e-file authorization for corporations. So we'll go over this three-part tax form. It's pretty straightforward. It actually doesn't even get filed with the IRS. We'll talk about it as we go through it in just a moment. So whenever you e-file a tax return and you have say a tax preparer e-file it on your behalf, this is one of two types of documents that you can use to authorize that person to electronically file on your behalf. So if you're filing electronically through a paid tax return preparer, they'll either allow you to use this or they'll ask you to use an alternate form. In this case, it would be IRS Form 8453-CORP. So we'll just start with kind of walking through the three main parts of this form. It's, again, pretty straightforward. Your tax software will probably import most of this information from the appropriate spaces in your tax return. So in part one, we're just putting the total income information from your 1120 form, whichever variant it is. In part two, we'll go over the declaration and the signature authorization of a corporate officer. And then in part three, this is the certification and authentication of this submission. So let's go up to the top. Before we get to part one, you'll see the calendar year or the tax year. So that would be any tax year that's not a calendar year is called a fiscal year. So in this case, we put both. It could have been for 2024, the calendar year, or as an example of a fiscal year, July 1st, 2024, running through the end of June 2025. So those are kind of how those would work. And then you would enter the name of the corporation as well as the employer identification number. In part one, you're only going to enter the total income on one line. So if it's a regular corporate tax return, this would be a line 11, total income. Let's just say that was $100,000. We would put that there. If this is for a foreign corporation filing IRS Form 1120F, then it would be the line 11 from that 1120F form. If this was an S corporation tax return, then we would be putting that information on line 3, and that comes from line 6. It could have been a total income. It could be a total loss. So if it's reported in negative numbers, then you would use parentheses to represent a loss. And then in any other variant of Form 1120, you would actually fill in the 1120 variant and then which line that income number came from. And our article contains a list of the other 1120 type forms that you may be looking to e-file for. So we list out the different types of 1120 variant tax returns as well as which lines the total income is reported on. In part two, we're going to basically either do the PIN authorization for a board officer, and then right below that, we'll have the officer's signature. So basically, there's a list of things that it's saying. It's saying that this person is an officer and is authorized to sign the tax return on behalf of the corporation. They're also allowing the electronic return originator, transmitter, or the intermediate service provider to send this information to the IRS. So not just the tax return preparer, but also anyone involved with the actual electronic transmission of the tax return. So that could be the software company that the tax preparer is using. So basically, it's allowing this to be electronically processed. Otherwise, it would have to be filed manually if the tax return preparer does not have a signed document in their files. And again, this is for the electronic return originator's files or your accountant's files. So so if you owe taxes, then you would end up also authorizing a direct debit of the money based on the banking information in the tax return. So if you wanted to revoke the payment, then you would have to contact the U.S. Treasury, and there's contact information. That has to be done no later than 2 business days prior to the settlement date. So this also authorizes the banks or financial institutions involved to release confidential information necessary to answer inquiries and resolve any issues related to the payment. And this also says that you've selected a personal identification number as your signature for the tax return and any subsequent electronic funds withdrawal. So let's go ahead and just say that we'll go over both aspects here. So the first one is if I'm letting my tax return preparer, let's see. So it could be James Smith CPA, and this is the PIN. I'm allowing that person to enter my PIN, or you can also say, I will enter my PIN as a signature on the electronically filed tax return. Either way. So, and then the officer signs, dates, and then enters their title. President. Should be something that sounds official enough and would be backed up by your corporate documents. So you should be able to prove that this officer who signed it actually carries the title and has the authority of the company to sign their tax return. And then right below that is the electronic return originator's 6-digit electronic filing ID number, followed by a self-selected 5-digit PIN number. So they would simply just enter all of this information, and as long as it's not all zeros, then the IRS should be able to accept it. And then the ERO would sign and date it. Again, this does not go to the IRS unless the IRS asks for it. This would simply be retained in the files for audit purposes. And that's basically all you need to know here. However, if you want to break down more detail, you can check out our article. Go to teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS form 8879-CORP, and you'll see the article appear. So if you like our articles, please subscribe to our newsletter. If you like our YouTube videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, or if there's another topic that you'd like to see in an upcoming video, please hit me up in the comments section. Thank you very much and have a great day.